Hello everyone, and welcome to DeeJay's Hello everyone, and welcome to Storytime with DeeJay.
Okay, turn me up a little bit more. It's just this. It's this pain in my heart. Pain in my heart. Pain in my heart.
Hello everyone, my name is Daryl-Jarod, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. So if you don't know me already, I'm a singer, author, and actor. My latest project is Pain in My Heart. It's available everywhere on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble. It's
everywhere.
So I figured my first YouTube video would be a great chance to tell my coming out story. I always wanted to tell this story. Well, if you know me, you've heard many parts of this story. But I figured it'd be a great way just to introduce myself to YouTube and see how it goes. This video also serves as part of my Pain in My Heart virtual book tour. And if you want to check that out, I have all of the dates listed on my website at Daryl-Jarod.com. And also you can check them out on Instagram as well. Okay, so let's just dive right in. So I realized in my last podcast episode that I briefly talked about my coming out story, but it was super brief. Like, it didn't even scratch the surface on what really happened. So I figured this video would be a perfect way to go into full detail with you guys. So I came out when I was 16 years old. I'm now 29. So that was quite a while ago. It feels like forever now that I think about it. And let me just give you guys a brief backstory. That way you'll understand why things happened and you'll just get a better understanding of my story. Whew, I'm just giving y'all all the tea today. Oh. So growing up, I was never into sports. I can honestly say I was very different from the other kids, like my other male cousins. You know, I played with my male cousins, but I was always around my female cousins. Like, I just connected with them better for some reason. So I didn't like sports, but I did play with toys. I had a big box of toys, actually, now I think about it. Like a huge box of toys in my closet. But my favorite toy was Barbie. I'm not even gonna front. Barbie was my girl. I loved her. Like, while the other boys were playing with G.I. Joes. Is that what you call it? Is it a G.I. Joe doll? I think I got that right. While they were playing with G.I. Joe, I was playing with Barbie, with my little cousin, with her like big ass doll house, with my MC Hammer doll. So aside from all of that, I was very creative. That was another thing that I think was very different compared to all the other kids that I played with. I remember I had this fascination with hair. I still kind of do. But I remember very vividly making wigs out of paper when I was a kid. So I would take just a sheet of paper and I would cut it up. And some kind of way I would tape a crown around my head, and I would and I would like tape the hair to it. And I don't know where I got the idea from or why, but I had fun doing it. And I remember going to my aunt's house and she was like, "What are you guys doing?" Because I was also playing with my little cousin. And he was like, "Oh, Daryl's over there making a wig, doing whatever." And she was like, "You know, Daryl, little boys don't make wigs." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." So I think I put it down that day. But I also remember going to another aunt's house And when my cousin wasn't home, I was playing with her Cleopatra wig. This is just so funny to me now. So I just have it on my head, just, you know, living my best life. And she was like, Daryl, you know, little boys, they don't do those things. So I put it down, I put it up, and I just went to something else. But you know what? Now that I think about it, it doesn't stop there when I think about how I felt different from the other kids. So y'all remember those book fairs that we had in elementary school? You know, you would get out of class, which I love that part. And then you would just go to the library and there's just books galore everywhere, which I also love because I've always been in love with books. So I remember one of my aunts, a different aunt, I have so many aunts. One of my aunts worked at the library. So I remember going in there, browsing through books, and I found a Sleeping Beauty book. Now keep in mind, I had never seen that movie a day in my life, but I liked Aurora for whatever reason. I wanted to get that book since I had never seen it. So I pick up the book and I go to check out, and my aunt's coworker, she was like, oh, Daryl, you know, I think your aunt might want you to get a different book. Now, I was like maybe 6 or 7, so I didn't really get it. I was like, what? Like, what? And, you know, now that I'm older, I don't know if my aunt may have said something to her to tell her that I shouldn't get a princess book, or if she may have said something to her that made her think I needed to be more masculine. I don't know why she said that. Well, I know why she said it, but I don't know, like, why would you tell a child that? I guess I don't. Let me live, you know? So I didn't get the book I wanted. I don't know what I got, but I remember walking back to that classroom disappointed because I spent the money my mama gave me on a book I did not want. So I'm just telling you guys these narratives because I do feel like a lot of people around me wanted to change me when I was growing up. And I feel like if they didn't want to change me, they were rude sometimes. Like, for example, another aunt, I know I have a lot of aunts, as I said before. Another aunt, she would always joke about buying me a dress. Because I know I ran around everywhere with my little girl cousins, like laughing and screaming with this high-pitched voice. But also keep in mind, I hadn't gone through puberty either. And, you know, children don't think about things like that. They just want to have fun, you know? So she would always joke about, you know, buying me a dress, I guess because I was with the girls. I behaved like the little girls. And I would never say anything because, I mean, I didn't know what to say to that. And I remember everyone would just laugh and they would just repeat it, like my little cousins or whatever. And then I remember one of my cousins, this cousin was actually much, much older than me. She would tell people to not come to my house because I was gay. And because if they came to my house, they would turn gay. She would tell my other little cousins that. And that, I remember that hurt my feelings so much. Like, even to this day, I mean, I'm over it because I'm grown. It's whatever, you know. I don't hold anything against anyone. But I still wonder, like, why the hell would you say something like that, you know? So with all that being said, as you can see, a lot of people around me, they already had this idea that I would be gay or something. And they didn't like it. Okay, so enough of that. Time for the coming out story. This is the good, juicy part. So I had this best friend. I think we'll call her Cindy. So I remember I think I was a freshman. Yeah, because I was hold on now. I don't know. I'm not doing the math right now. I'm sorry. So I was 16 and I remember it was a weeknight and my mom had just left to go to church. I think it was a Wednesday night for Bible study or something. And I was on the phone with my best friend, Cindy. We were always on the phone together. So I purposely waited for my mom to leave before I told her my confession. And not even before my mom could even pull out the driveway, I was like, girl, I got something to tell you. And she was like, what? Like, what do you have to tell me? And I was like, you gotta promise you ain't gonna judge me. And she was like, yeah, of course, go ahead and tell me. So I just took a deep breath and I was like, I'm gay. And she laughed and she was like, boy, I already knew, like, it's whatever. And you know what? We laughed and I felt so much, like, I felt so free. It was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders because that was my best friend, and the fact that she still loved me, and I feel like we got even closer after that. To feel that love, that meant everything to me. So the second person I came out to was my good friend Christian. And I was actually in this very room because I had this tiny track phone. Do you remember those track phones? It was like about this big and the screen was about that big and you had to like type like that on it. I'll post a picture somewhere. So I'm on that track phone and once again, I'm like, girl, I got something to tell you. And she was like, what? What's up? So, of course, I'm so dramatic. I didn't just flat out say what it was. I texted her G-A-Y, but I sent it, the word separately. So, G-A-Y. So when she read it, it would say gay. But it came to her backwards. So she saw Y-A-G. She was like, what? What? So I was like, okay, I'm gay. And once again, she was like, okay, I already knew, it's whatever. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this is the second person who said it's okay and they don't care. So maybe I can just tell everybody. Well, not everybody, but the most important people, like my mom. So she was next. I thought about that for a while as well. I remember there were times we would be driving in the car and I thought about just blurting out, Mama, I'm gay. But I was like, oh, if I tell her that, she might like lose it and like swerve or something. So I didn't do that. But I had this bright idea one night to write her a letter. And that night I stayed up all night writing that letter. I wrote two versions actually, because one was for her and one was for Cindy, so she could read it as well. So I'm up all night writing that letter. It was about maybe 3 pages, and I just poured my whole heart out in that letter. I said I knew I was gay. I said Cindy knew I was gay. I don't know why I put her in it, but I guess it gave me some reassurance to put somebody else in it. I don't know. And I wish I still had it. I wish I had saved a copy for myself so I could look back on it now, but who knows where that, I don't know. So everything was normal that morning. I didn't, act different or anything. But once the bus came, I placed my mom's copy on top of her work bag, and then I ran off to the bus and got on the bus. And I told Cindy once I got on the bus what had happened, and she started laughing. She thought it was so funny. And I was like, well, you in the letter too. And she was like, what? Give me this letter. Why'd you put my name in it? So the whole day I'm just like so nervous. And I'm just wondering, am I gonna get kicked out of the house? Like, what's gonna happen to me when I get home? So anyway, I went through the entire day just wondering what was going to happen when I got home. I come home and there's a Bible already laid out for me, and I don't remember what scripture or what chapter was outlined for me. I just remember calling my mom. And letting her know I made it home. And she was like, "Did you see the scripture that I laid out for you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I read it." And it wasn't anything like, I don't know what scripture that is. You know, where it lists like what's an abomination. It wasn't any of that. It was just something about God's love. It was one of those type of scriptures. And she was like, "Well, we'll talk when I get home." So we did. Well, she did most of the talking. She did like 99.9% of the talking. Because, you know, back then, I talk about this in my podcast. I was so mute back then. And I just didn't know how to express myself. I was still trying to figure everything out. So I let her do most of the talking, and you know, it was just, well, it wasn't just her. Basically, a lot of people during that time period would tell me that I was too young to know what I wanted. They're like, "Oh, you're only 16, like you're a virgin, like you don't have a boyfriend, you don't know what you want. This could just be a phase." And it wasn't a phase. Listen, I'm telling y'all, if one of your kids come to you and tell you they're gay, baby, they're probably gay. But you know what? I do know some people who pretended to be gay just to do it. So, but you know, around this time period, I was told who I shouldn't be hanging around because certain people were, how do I say this? Certain people were suspected of being gay. So I was told to not hang around them because people feared that that would influence me. But it's interesting because I feel like my whole life people have suspected that I was different or that I was gay or whatever. So I didn't see what the big deal was. But also, with being gay in the South, I will say I was teased a lot. Like, it was ridiculous how much I was teased growing up. Like, I would over-exaggerate being sick. So, because I have acid reflux. So I would over-exaggerate those symptoms to try and not go to school because it was just so much. Let me tell you, from elementary school up until high school, I was picked on. You know, middle school, I feel like it wasn't too bad because I feel like middle schoolers are still trying to figure themselves out too. So, I mean, it wasn't as bad as elementary and high school. Because back in high school, oh gosh. Most of my bullying in high school, it wasn't in the classroom. It was when I would get off the bus and walk into the cafeteria. When I was in the hallway, on the bus, that's like where most of it happened. I remember they would call me, out of my name, they would call me Daisy, and just pick on me. And you know, I was that sweet little shy little timid little teenager, and I just let it happen. And people sat and, no, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect anyone to come and be my superhero and save me, but it's just interesting how a lot of people saw it. And So in high school, my mom bought me a car, and I wasn't allowed to drive it every day to school. Maybe I drove it like once or twice a week to school. And my mom said she didn't want me to feel spoiled, so that's why I had to ride the bus also. But I remember feeling really disappointed because I have this beautiful car, but I can't drive it. I have to get on this bus and deal with these, I don't know, deal with these kids who probably don't even love themselves, so they're picking on me, who I don't even love myself. So I I wasn't mad at my mom, but I was very disappointed that I could not drive that car. And I never said anything. I don't think she knew that the bullying was still continuing, because she knew in middle school, that's when I would tell her. But it got to a point where telling her, I mean, it wasn't helping the situation. If anything, I just looked like a weak tattletale. So at that point in high school, I just kept it to myself. I just dealt with it. And I was so thankful when I got to college. Because listen, in college, college, it was none of that, okay? We were all grown, trying to get our degrees. But you know what? I will say this. I looked back at a high school photo. It was a photo of all of us, the graduating class, in the gymnasium. And I looked at myself and I looked so sad. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna show that picture. I might show it in this video. I might put it somewhere, but I don't know. I look at that and I feel so sorry for that version of myself, because he didn't love himself. He didn't know who he was. And he contemplated there are a lot of times when I thought about just just ending it, you know. I'm so glad I didn't, but I thought about that a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm not perfect. I am far from perfect, okay? Because there are situations where I can look back at younger Daryl, and there are times when I may have said a thing or two about somebody that I should not have said. And I think the reason why I may have done that is because of what was done to me, which is why I can kind of understand why people may have been mean to me, because I was different and I was something to distract from themselves. So I can't be upset about that at this point in my life, because it did make me and shape me into who I am today. But as I get older, I realize that hurt people hurt people. And you know something? Now that I'm thinking about college, I just had a flashback to when the day I moved out of the house to go to college. So I had never had a conversation with my dad about my sexuality. I talked to my mom and my brother, but my dad, I just never said anything. I guess I knew, he knew, or that my mom may have told him, but maybe she didn't, because I feel like he may have said something if he did. Okay, so it's move out day, and everyone's outside because my brother, my sister-in-law, and my mom, they were all helping me move. They were gonna drive with me to school to move in. And I remember I had one last suitcase to put in the car. So I was getting that out my room. And when you exit my room, you pass my parents' room. So as I'm pulling that suitcase, my dad, who's still in bed, he stops me. He's like, "Hey." So I stop and I look at him, and all he said was, "Don't go away and turn into a faggot." Like that was it. And it took me by surprise because it just came out of nowhere, you know. It wasn't a, "I hope you drive safe. I hope you have a safe trip. I hope you enjoy college. I wish you the best." It was just, "Don't go and turn into a faggot." So I was still shocked by it. So I didn't say anything. Once again, I was mute. I just looked at him and then I walked out. And I didn't tell anyone about that. I didn't tell my mom about that. I just kept it to myself. That was a lot going on that day. So honestly, I put it to the back of my head and I thought about it later. But I just think that's interesting looking back on that, because I would never, ever tell my child that. Never. Don't get this twisted or wrong. I love my dad, like, with all my heart. I feel like now that he's passed, we're even closer than what we were before, because we weren't close at all before. But now I see him in my dreams quite often. And in my dreams, he's always alive and well. And he's always so loving. Like, he embraces me, kisses me on the forehead. It's always love whenever I see him in my dreams. And it feels so real. So that's how I know people can come visit you in your dreams. Like, that's him. That's not me imagining it. That's him coming to see me in my dreams. And I don't know if it's to comfort me because of how I may have felt. I didn't mean to make this video about daddy issues. So yeah, so I don't hold that against him. I think I'm healed from it. I've had therapy in college. So, I mean, as I said, I think that's interesting because I know if my kids come to me and tell me something, I'm going to be very open. I'm going to embrace them. I'm going to accept them. I may not understand it, but I know how it is to grow up and have everyone not accept you for who you are. And now that I'm older, I do realize that I think that's a part of why I didn't love myself the way I should love myself. Because I feel like if no one is going to accept me and love me, why should I love myself? I really do think that's why I have made some of the choices I've made in my life, because, well, the good thing is I love myself more than ever now. Like, every day after I meditate, I give myself a great big hug and I tell myself how much I love me and how special I am and how God loves every part of me. So I think that helps with my mental. And then I also realize everything from the past, as far as bullying and not feeling accepted by others, that's why I have social anxiety, because I was always worried about what people would think and how they would accept me. And even as an adult, I still have to deal with social anxiety. Although I feel like it's much better. It's so much better with meditation and praying and just telling myself it's okay, you know. So I do feel like this video was a little bit all over the place, but I think it told the story of of what it was like for me to come out in the South, and how I have no regrets about anything. I don't regret coming out at 16 because I'm one of those people where I always want to live in my truth. I never want to live a lie. I didn't want to be one of those men who would not accept who I really am and then go marry a woman and then have all these kids. And when I'm 40 or 50, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but I like men. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go do that over there. And then there you have these kids and this wife who's heartbroken. I'm not one of those. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just saying I can't do that. I had to let it out. And once I did, it was a huge weight off my shoulders. Even though I went through all that extra stuff, I felt like I was on the way to freedom. And at 29, I feel like I found it because I know I'm enough. I know I'm worthy of love. I love myself more than anything. So honestly, I think me coming out might have been the first step to me accepting myself. Because although it may have took many years for this to happen, at least now I see the beauty in me, even when others may not see it. I can see it in myself. And that's the most important part right there. So I made this video for myself and also for anyone who may be having difficulty with the decision to come out. I will say, if you are struggling with that, it may still be hard afterward. People still may not accept you. I mean, as gay people, we're always going to deal with that. But it's so freeing to live in your truth and to love yourself and to accept who you are. It really is. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly, truly appreciate it. And if you aren't following me already, you can follow me on Instagram at Daryl-Jarod. And also I am on Twitter at Daryl-Jarod as well. And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. I do plan on doing quite a few more. Since we're in quarantine, I have all the time in the world. So thank you again, guys. And remember, you are enough, you are beautiful, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, my loves.
I just wanna hold you in my arms, take the pain away. Trust in me and we can fly away. Just give your all and baby, I can be your remedy.